So what is up, guys? You got your boy Jet Stingren here today, and today we're back with some reverse 1999 content for you guys here today. And today we are going to be doing a video talking about Vila. If you guys don't know, Vila is going to be releasing in the game at the start of patch 1.8, which is in 5 more days. I know, crazy. It's so close. Wow. Anyway, I'm joking. But very excited that she's going to be coming because she's actually a really cool character. So as always, we're going to talk about her skills, we're going to talk about her portrays, her inheritances, all that good stuff. We're going to talk about some cubes she can give her, some partners of course, and let's go and let's talk about it. So let's talk about it first with her skills. First things first is her ultimate Bright Prospect, which is a mass buff that dispels all status downs, negative statuses, and control statuses from all allies. Then she grants herself the Raslaka status for self for 3 rounds. I apologize if I butchered that name. And she changes any existing allies' Song of Generosity to Song of Passion and resets the duration, cannot gain ultimate while she's in a Raslaka status. So first things first, her ultimate is very solid. One, it's very good because it gives a cleanse on demand. We don't really have a good way to cleanse debuff. We have people like Six who can cleanse off one person. Two Fairy was our best reliable AoE group cleanse if she's able to crit on her ultimate. But if you can't crit with Two Fairy, then it becomes pretty savage because you're stuck with dealing with a bunch of debuffs. Like a really good example of needing a group cleanse is something like the Nightmare Raid, right? Where it puts up that debuff on you a lot of the time, so you have to kind of dispel the debuff, and you just kind of have to hope that either you are running Six who can counteract the gimmick pretty easily, or use Two Fairy's ultimate to get rid of that debuff effect where it becomes the stronger version, which prevents you from doing two things. It prevents you from getting actions for like 2 turns or something crazy like that. So really good that we have a group cleanse just on demand. So I do think that's fan-freaking-tastic. And we'll talk about what the Raslaka status does as according to the extra effect on her skills, because what it does is it basically just empowers her skills, but we'll talk about why it's empowered in just a second. So next is her Beating Heart skill, which is a 1 target buff that grants Song of Generosity to the target for 2 rounds. If she uses a 2 to 3 star version of the card, she will gain a up to 2 stack amount of power burst to the targeted ally. The Raslaka status changes to Song of Generosity to the Song of Passion if she's in Raslaka status, of course, and only one Song of Generosity and Song of Passion can exist on the allied side at a time. So this means you can only put it on one target ally, period. If you try to put it on anybody else, it will just remove the effect on the existing ally and put it on a newer ally with a refresh duration. So you can't really cheat the system out that way. But that's still a really good buff, because for what it does, right? Song of Generosity is a 20% crit rate, 20% critical damage boost, which is really good, and mental damaging characters will gain an additional 10% crit rate and an additional 20% crit damage, which is even better. But we'll talk about the general purpose, which is the 20/20 that you get from just using this as, for example, to a reality damaging character. One of the best things about this buff out of the gate is that it's a critical rate buff. To my knowledge, I don't think that there's a group I don't think that there's really any crit buffers in the game. I know that there's crit damage buffers in the game, for example like Urza, who gives the 40% off his mushrooms, but the fact that we have a unit that can really power up our carry with crit rate and crit damage is absolutely huge. The big reason is because when you get to the end game and you really start optimizing your teams for the end content, you mostly build your carries for crit and crit damage. That's really the best way you go, because when you use your affiliates for advantage and then you hit a target for crit, you do a pretty sizable amount of damage. So that's why a lot of us tend to go, you know what, I'll go build crit, and then that'll be the best way to go about it. But 9 times out of 10, right, certain characters do, while recommended to run crit, like Monalia is a prime example of this, don't really have good ways to get into extra crit. For example, she has no innate way to boost her own crit rate nor crit damage. So having a character like Vila who's going to help her technically even more, because she's a mental character, is a fantastic setting for these units, especially for the older units like I just mentioned Monalia, who don't have it. Like characters like Spahothea, for example, don't necessarily need Vila that much while it is still appreciated, because I believe with Spahothea, if you run her at P0, she technically gets 100% crit damage off her ultimate, because if you hit both the 40/40s, which is the 15 stacks of burn plus the additional 40% that it already comes with, plus her 20% buff, that's 100% crit damage, which is still really strong. But she doesn't really need the crit rate because of her own skill giving her crit rate. So at least we now have a unit that can generate crit rate, which is actually going to be fan-freaking-tastic. And of course, the big damage from mental damaging characters is absolutely insane, because it's effectively a on-demand Urza buff for whoever you give it to. 9 times out of 10, you're going to be giving it to your carry, but it's an on-demand Urza buff because you have to wait like a couple turns to get Urza's mushroom set, and then you have to just kind of go on from there. There's, of course, some ways where you can optimally get his rotations going a little bit faster based on ultimate, but having this on-demand is absolutely peak. Now let's talk about Song of Passion. Song of Passion is the exact same thing, but it adds a cool new effect to the user's incantation skill by adding an additional 50, 120 to 200% modifier bonus on the attack. Now, I was misinformed about this information, and I am terribly sorry for doing this, and I am going to own up to that mistake. So what this thing does is, whenever the user of this buff uses an incantation of that level, then it gets the bonus. This does not apply to their ultimate, it's just straight up incantations only, and this is really still powerful for a lot of units. I think one of the best examples of this is someone like Marcus, who can rank up her own cards innately, so she can easily fall into the 120-200 range depending on her stacks of Eureka. So it's a really good effect that you can give. This just about works on anybody, because again, being able to potentially get a up to 200% damage bonus if you are able to cast a 3-star of your skill, you know, characters who can actually rank up their cards or allow themselves to get easier casts of their cards really like this buff. Spahothea is a prime example, because you can technically get 2 stars of her pretty consistently because she can self-generate. Marcus ranks up her own cards. Ana Lee, even though she's not a DPS, can rank up her own cards, which can help. You know, there's a lot of units out there that can really make use of this effect. So I do think Song of Passion is fan-freaking-tastic. Of course, Power Burst is always good as well, because it's just extra damage as well. So again, this buff is very good. It's a very good buff. It's very solid, and it's going to be something that you can easily put on top of Vila's long list of incredible things that she's known for in this game. So there's that. So next up is her heal. Her heal is a one target heal that has a maximum of up to 250% based upon her attack. That grants one ally 1 stack of sturdiness, and if she's in a Berserker status, she additionally recovers someone by a maximum of up to 180% of her own attack stat to the ally to the lowest HP percentage twice. So this heal is pretty much Yensei heal, but much better. That's pretty much it. If you're familiar with Yensei, she has a heal where she can target, you can target whoever you want to target with the heal. Of course, that targeted ally gets the stack of sturdiness, and then she heals based off a smaller amount to the weakest member in your team that has the lowest amount of HP, right? Vila does the exact same thing, just with a much higher scaling. That's really just it. It's just a much stronger scaling heal. So she effectively can heal 2 allies at a pretty good rate. So that's why I do think that is really good. But that's just really just it. It's just a stronger Yensei heal. So there's that. Alright, so let's talk about her inheritances. Her inheritances are of the following. So when she enters the battle, she gains Moxie +1. For each mental damaging ally on the team, gain an additional Moxie +1 up a Moxie of +2. So what this means is she can effectively get +3 Moxie at the start if you put 2 mental damaging characters alongside her on the team. So if you run something like Marcus, Vila, and 6, right? That's a 3 mental team. She's getting 3 Moxie just out of the gate. It's pretty much like DTN's Inheritance 3. DTN's Inheritance 3 really just wants you to run 3 reality characters, and then boom, you get the same thing. You get the 3 Moxie on start. So that is really good. But yeah. While she's in a Berserker status, at the start of the round generates 1 precast of Song of Inspiration. grants Moxie +1 and Eureka +1 to target at no AP cost. Now her extra skill is fantastic. So whenever she's in ultimate, she's always going to generate this card, which is going to give an ally +1, +1 Moxie, +1 Eureka. This is basically Urza's ultimate, but single target and on demand while she's in this Ruslaka status, which is, I mean, the writing's on the wall. I mean, there's so many dumb combinations you could put with this. So, I mean, like it's a fantastic buff, right? So even if the person doesn't use Eureka, like the older, like 1.0, 1.1, etc. characters, still giving them a Moxie +1 on top of the skills that they're already doing allows them to loop into ultimate, which is really good. Certain characters like Monalia, again, another character I'm going to mention here, really loves this, because if you have her at P2, for example, right, she's an older character, so some people may have pulled dupes, but again, if she's just P0, then this is totally fine. You gain effectively 4 Moxie if you optimally use her Thief Master stacks correctly, which is if you either use a 2-star or above caster per single target card, or you use the AoE skill, the mass attacking skill that gives you Moxie +1 when she's in Thief Master, right? So you get 1 Moxie for using the card, then another +1, and then another +1, and then another +1. So it's a 1-to-1 and then an extra +1 because of the Thief Master stacks. Then using Song of Inspiration gives you that final +1 at Moxie, and then you're at 5 Moxie, for example. That's just really something that you can do to allow for certain combinations to work. For the limited time that she's in this Ruslaka status, you can loop Monalia's ult consistently, which is pretty sick. I mean, of course, depending on RNG. If you don't get the right RNG, then that's definitely something. But still, I mean, in theory, it can technically be a optimal rotation of her ultimate, which is pretty good. That's really good. I like that. I like that a lot. So again, very powerful Insight 1. So there's that. Let's talk about the Insight 2. It's just a straight up damage taken 8%. I mean, that's fine. I would have preferred healing rate, if anything, just so she can heal more potently, but she does have ways to boost healing rate via cube. So again, not really the worst thing, but it just makes her more sustainable, and that's really just it. In Insight 3, at the end of the round, if not actively casted an incantation, she will recover all allies' HP based on her own attack stat of 50%. If she's in Ruslaka status at the end of the round, she will also then recover again for a 60% based on her own attack heal for all allies. So to completely understand this, right? In her Insight 3, she can effectively heal twice if she does not use any incantation. Now you're probably wondering, Vila seems like a pretty busy character. You're gonna maybe want to heal with single target, you're gonna maybe want to reapply her buff, especially when she's in Ruslaka status. But while it's not necessarily required, her Song of Inspiration technically does bypass the Inheritance 3 effect. If you guys don't know, her Inheritance 3 does not count Song of Inspiration because it does not count as something as an AP cost. For some reason, it just does not generate an incantation of this. It doesn't count it as an incantation for some reason. I've asked a few people about this. They said you can technically use the I3 to get an extra heal if you just use Song of Inspiration, which is really good. I mean, that means you still have a way to actively contribute to the team while still getting that AoE heal if you needed it. So I mean, that's really good. I think that that's really good. So again, really, really good Insight 3. So again, fantastic. So let's talk about her Portrays. If you ask me, I do think the best portrait you can keep her at is just P1. Go P1 above all else. Of course, P0 again, always fine. I will always say this about every character in the game, except for one. I'll talk about that when we get to that chapter. Am I right? Anyway. P1 is completely fine, because what this turns into is a 30-30 for reality, which is solid, and it's only 10% less of what Urza could give, which is 40. You know, a 10% difference from 40 to 30 is not that significant. It's not. 40-20 is a little bit more, but it's not like game breaking noticeable. It's like, it's just enough to kind of make it more comfortable for you, I guess. If you really, really want to go for that dupe, then that's totally fine. If you're free to play, again, stop at P0. You don't really need to. But P1, if you want to kind of maybe double, if you've been hoarding a little bit and you maybe want to try to test your luck, then yeah, go P1. And if you are a mental damaging character, then this effectively becomes this becomes a 40-50, which is kind of insane because a 50% crit damage buff, kind of nice, kind of nice. And if you even want to go further, this is more so for the whale territory people out there. I would say just go P3. Go P3 because that then turns into a 40-40, which is basically Urza's buff to reality units on demand with 40% crit rate as an added bonus, so that's really good. And then it becomes a 50-60, which is, you know, exceptionally strong for your mental damaging characters like Manalia, like 37, like Kanabana, all these characters that I've just mentioned before. So again, worth it if you do want to go for that far. P5 is absolutely fantastic too, but again, that's really if you want to sink your pockets. You're looking at you're looking at a minimum of like 400 summons, and again, even if you're like a whale, I wouldn't advise it because another character's coming out just in a couple more weeks after. So it's kind of like, do you really want to? So, and I'm not trying to pocket watch anybody or anything, but if you have the means to go P5 and then yet pull for the other character that's coming, then that's totally fine. But that's completely up to you. But again, if you're looking at a budget standpoint, go P1. If you're looking to maybe push it a little bit, go P3. So let's go and talk about some of the cubes she can run. So first thing she can run is Laughter, and Laughter, it is a pretty basic cube. It kind of helps with her mitigation. It kind of makes it a little bit more bulky, which is a little bit fine. I think that that's fine. But what it does is it gives you just a stacking healing done up every single turn, which makes your heals a little bit more potent over the course of content. So again, it's a good starter option if you can't get to her cube immediately, which you should be able to if you're able to do the event. Another good starting option is her second life. Technically this works because her ultimate is a mass buff, so it's a mass skill in a way. So technically yes, this does work, and it does just give her an extra heal. So technically with the ultimate allows you to heal just a little bit, which is fine. It's pretty much the same as like Necro. You know how Necro uses this card because you can technically get a heal off of using the ultimate. It's kind of the same thing. So option, it's an option. But the one thing you definitely want to use is our own card, which is Dawn is Coming, which is a healing rate boost of 18%, which is good. But when you use a one target buff incantation, you recover you recover the targeted ally based on 24% of your own attack stat for a max of 48% at 8.5 with the lowest HP percentage, and triggers one time per round. So it just gives her another way to effectively heal someone, which is good. And yeah, so you just want to get her own card. Her own card is easily the most preferred option out of every unit that really comes out and they come with their own card. It's 99% of the time the card that you want, unless it's like some other cool synergy you can run with a different card, which is, you know, not always the truth. So yeah. Now we're going to talk about potential partners. So first things first is going to be Marcus. Marcus, I think, gets the biggest boost for Vila, strictly for a few reasons. One, it helps her I3, which is her inheritance tree wants you to run any combination of plant, spirit, or intelligence character. Guess what? Vila's a plant, which means that triggers her I3, and Marcus has one of the easiest ways to rank up her cards because of how her Eureka works. If you guys don't know, she consumes up to 2 Eureka to rank up her cards. And if you get dupes in Marcus, she can actually rank a little bit more consistently and strong and faster. So you really get the best benefit of Vila's buff from Marcus, because Marcus literally can rank up her cards pretty much most of the time without much of anything. She also has further damaging multipliers based on like her annotate buff and all that stuff. So it's really cool that she can really get away with this cool mechanic. That's why Marcus is such a big partner for Vila, because you get a really solid character with the ability to rank up the cards just consistently through and through. And then of course with Vila's buff, you can easily see some 2 to 3 star cards just going off on Marcus whenever you need them. So again, very good. And yeah, next up is going to be Manalia. Manalia I just mentioned earlier as an early example because of her innate ability to gain a lot of moxie and loop her ultimate. But it's not really for that. It's, of course, she is a mental damaging character who really needs crit rate. Crit damage, I should say. most people build Monalia for crit, just like how they would any other normal character. But what I've noticed with Monalia, and me using her, I don't crit as much as I should with Monalia. And it's not like her crit rate's bad. She has a pretty decent crit rate, but it's like it's just never really hitting the key times when I need it to hit, and it's kind of just like, well, I just kind of have to rely and hope I get the crit. You know what I mean? I just have to scratch my head, pray on it, and be like, all right, I got it. You know what I mean? But if I don't, savage, you know. But having a partner like Vila around is not only going to make Monalia a lot stronger, you could potentially do some fun strats. Like, again, if you ever at P2, you can do the ultimate loop thing. And yeah, so again, just another great strong mental carry that you can use that is going to work in her favor. Another character is going to be Kanabana. Now, Kanabana is actually pretty fun to work with Vila because Kanabana has the ability to self-cast a random incantation skill based on the number of moons of the skill that she used when she uses her ultimate. If you guys are familiar with Kana, she can pretty much generate up to 3 stacks of a moon based on the skill that she uses, right? So if you use, for example, 3 1-star casters, she has 3 Saturn effects active, right? When you cast her ultimate, then she will consume those stacks and then trigger a self-incantation of whatever the highest amount stack was. So if we use these 3 stacks of Saturn that we got previously from building up our Moxie, then she will trigger a 3-star incantation of the skill. If it's 2 stacks of Saturn, then it's a 2-star version of the skill that she does after the ultimate. So this is also another really good way for you to kind of just get strong modifier boost, because remember, it's her Song of Passion buff is based on the incantation. So effectively, this means she's casting it as an incantation, which means she can technically get the boost, which means it's a 650% attack coming off with Kala, which is actually really, really strong. But yeah, that's why I actually recommend Kala, because, you know, being able to cast these attack and the extra modifier bonus, and of course her being another mental damaging character, is also a good thing. And last but not least, we're going to talk about whether or not if you should pull Vila or not. Honestly, you should. She's 100% a worthwhile pulling unit for any team. I know I used a lot of mental characters as prime examples as why you should run her for synergy purposes, but she works with everyone. She is as she would say, she's a true comrade for the team, okay? She is a true comrade, okay? She is fantastic through and through. She is a must-pull healer in my honest opinion. She is not a unit that you do not want to skip, because even if you have someone like Two Fairy, which I've seen some takes out there saying that you don't really need Vila if you have Two Fairy, I don't think that that's true, because I do think that Vila and Two Fairy both provide different aspects of usefulness on certain teams depending on who or what you're using. So I do think that Vila is going to be the better version for certain team comps. Like, for example, the Monalia comp that I like to run with her, Vila's definitely going to be a better slot than me running Two Fairy because of the aforementioned bonuses that I have explained in this video today. So again, if you are looking to pull for her. If you do not own a 6-star healer, wail for her, okay? I'm kidding, you don't have to wail, but try to pull for this unit at all costs. But anyway, this has been your boy Jet Stingren, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.